And we're back to talk about Berserk volumes 13 through 14.5. I say we're back because I had to take a break. I read this about a month and a half ago and have had no interest in thinking, talking, or reading more Berserk for now because that was brutal, that was disgusting, and I needed a little bit of a break. But here we are, we're back, and it feels good. I'm excited to continue the story now that I've let that process and I've got my thoughts in order a bit. I would describe the first part of the clips as confusion, rage, and total bewilderment on the part of our main characters and the band. The second part is just despair, pain, and the realization that your worst dreams have come true. I don't even think you could dream this up. This is like a reality beyond what you could create in your own mind. It is that fucked up in the end scenario for all the people that we've come to know over the Golden Age. But before we jump into the eclipse, we start back outside the eclipse with Zod and Skull Knight, who seem to be, as we left them, just about to fight. And there seems to be a lot more nuance to these characters than the general run-of-the-mill demons, as I suspected. First off, Skull Knight is a foe to the demons. He is not on their side at all, as his actions later show. And Zod is not exactly a friend, but he also doesn't really care about anything else but fighting strong opponents. It's kind of like the Goku of demons, I guess you could say. And this was a really interesting interaction, and I wonder if these two have a history of moving back, because it seems to be that they've been dueling over the years, and I feel like this is like they're friends but enemies, but at the same time they're friends, and if one of them was about to die in another scenario, the other would jump in and save them. But back in the eclipse, shit is hitting the fan, if it can, even more, with Pippin and Judeo saving Casca with the death of Pippin, and they're just running. The band is getting absolutely massacred. Casca is in complete shock at what Griffith has done, what is happening, and this is just totally reasonable reaction from a person, because as I said before, you cannot predict this. As a battlefield commander, she has to predict the worst case scenario for her troops, but getting sucked into a demon eclipse where everybody gets massacred and there's no chance of fighting back, yeah, that one's not exactly in the art of war. But even though Casca is in denial over Griffith, Judeo tells her don't waste this. She has to struggle on and survive. Everybody's sacrificing themselves to get her to safety because she's their commander and they all love her, and Judeo expressing that she loves her just that extra bit more. She can never be Griffith, and she was just sidelined by his brilliance in Casca's eyes, which is just another bit of pain and suffering that the author tacked onto this scenario. But Judeo goes out in a badass way, saving Casca one last time before Casca's caught by the demons. I mean, what is she gonna do? There's like 1,000 demons in here. She really doesn't have a chance. Meanwhile, Guts is just fighting to survive. He is absolutely popping off, but the odds are just absolutely stacked against him. And the God Hand talks about the stronger he fights, the more the demons want his life force, and the more he fuels Griffith's rebirth because of the brand on his skin. Which runs into a problem there because Guts is never going to stop fighting. So does that mean he just makes Griffith and the Rebirth stronger and stronger and the demons want to eat him more and more? That's what I'm curious to find out of, if he becomes like a beacon to the demons, just as the demons are sensed by him with the brand. Now fully immersed in his betrayal, Griffith sinks deeper into his embryo state and he thinks that he's falling farther from the light. This is a very heavy-handed metaphor, and no shit, buddy. You just sacrifice all your friends that would die for you in a regular scenario. You've definitely fallen completely out of the light to roll under the couch and never be seen again. And that point is only emphasized as the deaths of all the band members sink into him. I really hope he felt all of those deaths. Like, it was just a transfer experience and he had to feel all the pain of all the people he sacrificed. But knowing this world, it was probably felt like eating candy and taking a nap on a summer afternoon. So, goddamn it. Fuck that guy. But we also get this weird cutout where he sees God, but then, at least in my versions, the chapters were cut out for spoiler reasons, which I do like because I would rather that be revealed where the author wants it to be revealed. But I'm really curious what sort of God would allow the God Hand to exist and be an extension of him. He's got to be evil, right? Or maybe subjugated in some way, that he's more of a puppet god than an actual ruler of the universe. I don't know. I'm curious to read those chapters either later on or once I'm done with the series, because the explanation of this universe and how it came to be has gotta be pretty damn interesting. As good as Guts is at killing things, he's ripping off horns of these demons and stabbing other ones with it, he's just barely surviving, and in the meantime, the rest of the Band of the Hawk is just getting picked off, with most of the named members now dead except for him and Casca. Gaston is one of them who is reflecting on how Griffith was different from all of them. It seemed like he had a higher purpose and they were always safe, and he's reminiscing on the good times just to drive a deeper knife into you with this betrayal. It wasn't just his top tier lieutenants who were thriving and were supportive and loyal to him, the entire band was. And now the same guy who gave them everything is taking it all away for his own gain. I keep on going back to people not comprehending Griffith doing this. It's because what he's done for them before. They never looked at the motive. It was using the wrong equation to get the right answer for them. They were happy with where they were, but not necessarily looking into the deeper facts of, why am I here? What is Griffith's end purpose? They were just, yay, I have food, I have money, and I have glory. Which, in the end, we can see really bit them in the ass. Guts has to watch Pippin's corpse get ripped in half, along with his false sense of hope that somebody could be alive, before seeing Casca captured and the remnants of all his dead friends. I really appreciate how love ignites his rage more than hate. Even though hate and rage are two closer emotions, you can't unlock that second level of Guts without putting somebody he loves and cherishes in danger. Before, he was mad, he was not understanding, but he knew that everything around him had to die. But now that somebody he loves is still alive and he has a chance to save them, he goes crazy. But despite that, he cannot fight off every single demon in existence at this point and gets his arm chomped, looking like everything's lost. And honestly, at this point, I wouldn't have been surprised if Casca had just been killed in front of Guts, and then Guts had just been made like the laughing stock from the demons to be tortured for all time. But no. Of course, it has to be worse than this. The story cannot just continue on by being dark. It has to be the darkest. And that is when Griffith is reborn. Or should I say Femto. That is a little bit less catchy than Griffith, but I really did love the beautiful paneling of him contrasted by the God Hand, and then him in Guts where he's coming down like some fucked up version of Jesus. But then Griffith does one of the most disgusting things that I think you could ever possibly do. I simply cannot think of something worse that you could do, and yeah, like I don't really want to cover this, but I'm going to say my piece, and this is where I was like, I need a break from reading the series. I just didn't like this to see it happen to characters that I have become attached to in a certain way, even though it hasn't been that long, and more attached through the love that Guts shares. Not only does Griffith Donovan a defenseless person, which is already absolutely unforgivable, it's a person who loved you and still loves you. Even though that love was not returned, she would continue to fight for you, to die for you, and you betray that in front of somebody who also just wanted to be your friend, to be there with you, and who had finally found some love and happiness outside of battle, outside of the sword. And you took those two people who would have been devoted to you, who would have been your friends and supported you through anything and given you that unconditional love, and absolutely violated both of them. This was just pure cruelty on a personal level. Death would have been a mercy, and it was easily available. The darkness that lurked in Griffith's heart has now consumed him. Griffith was never a good person, and as I talked about before, good things happened as a coincidence of his actions. He didn't inherently try to do good things. But he did have a balance between that inner demon and that childlike dream, which he shared with Guts and started to value Guts. Femto is still Griffith in my eyes, just the worst parts of him amplified beyond belief. The transformation was more than into a demon. It was also a cleansing of anything human within him. I'll say yet again that I find the excess of nudity completely unnecessary. Anybody with a somewhat developed level of empathy can feel the pain and suffering of these characters without these graphic imagery. It is already graphic enough, not only in context, but in the panels that do not contain this nudity. I understand, I feel, and I do not need these extra bit of pages to get the horror and disgust across for me. Trust me, I feel it. But before things could even ever possibly get worse, which I don't really know how they could without it just straight going into being a torture fetish, my boy Skull Knight appears and goes for the immediate headshot on Big Brain Guy. And we get the first instance of actual powers besides just physical capability that we see from the demons, where he can kind of make teleport holes and redirects the attack back at Skull Knight. But that's just a distraction as he then goes to try and save Guts and Casca, where we then get our second instance of powers with Griffith having telekinesis of some sorts and turning a bunch of demons into a flesh and blood monster ball. But luckily, our guys are saved. They survive to struggle on another day. I'm not sure if this is a mercy or a curse in the end. Maybe just chopping off their heads would have been a better solution, because I'm sure we are not done with the pain and suffering for these two characters. Then the God Hand theorizes that this was all due to causality, and that Guts is just one fish and he will not disturb the flow of the stream, and the Age of Darkness is now upon us. But my theory is, and I think this is more correct than the God Hands, that Guts is the antithesis to causality. All this fate and destiny bullshit that everybody's doomed and you can do nothing about it goes directly against what Skull Knight told him to struggle on. And I believe that's going to be Guts' story here. No matter the odds, no matter the hardship, he can change it and mold his way into a future that he can accept. There will be no acceptance of circumstances for Guts. He is going to fight and never stop fighting. But Rickert got to see the coolest fight ever apparently, but we didn't, as Zod is picking up his limbs and reattaching them like Lego pieces. He is neither friend of the God Hand or foe, but he does seem to be in their good graces since they allowed him to be the door guard, because I assume they knew that Skull Knight was going to show up because he hates them motherfuckers. So it's kind of like the guy that you know is always going to be uninvited to the party. But I am excited to see more fights, and hopefully in the future we can actually see them two face off, because I feel like that would be really, really cool paneling. Luckily, Rickert has that fairy dust from Puck, and they get healed enough to get transported back to where Guts was doing his sword training, where he awakes to find Casca is feral and does not recognize him. This is about what you could expect. I don't think you could put very many people through the trauma that she just went through and then turn out to be functioning human beings in even the most basic senses. She has had a rough life. She has been in war since she was very young, but still, what has just happened is absurd on a scale that cannot be recognized by anybody but Guts, who may just have the most fucked up and hardship-filled life up until this point, and I believe that is why he is still cognizant and able to function as he was, and also maybe because he was not a direct recipient of what Casca had to go through. And this breaks Guts. As he runs through the forest, he processes how everybody he's come to know and love has ceased to exist. This is not like the first time he left the Band of the Hawk. That was like going to college. Oh, I can return back to my parents and my family whenever and say hi. Maybe we'll run into each other on adventures. But no, there's no going back now. They don't exist anymore. And Casca, his love of his life, does not remember him, is not even really human anymore. And this is a situation that he is unfortunately too comfortable with, but not once in the whole entire time does he think about ending it all. I think one of the best messages of this series so far is the perseverance of Guts throughout the scenarios. He grieves and he weeps and he feels all this pain and this emotion and goes through it all, but it's written in a way that he is still human. He's not just this solid block of iron that feels nothing and experiences nothing and is a robot through it all. No, it's written in a way that you can see where he could break, but he chooses to struggle on. Skull Knight explains how he's branded and cursed and on the precipice of both life and death, and he always has to keep his mind guarded for the spirits could tear him away. And Guts tells him, fuck that, fuck destiny, I don't care. I'm here. This is my declaration of war, and I am going to kill every last goddamn one of them. The rules of war don't change whether you're fighting men or demons. It's the last one standing. And goddamn, after reading that whole eclipse portion and coming to this, it's that light at the end of the tunnel. His pure, unending willpower to just fight on. This is the antithesis to causality, as I said. Guts is not a perfect person. Guts has done fucked up shit. Guts just knows that he will follow his heart, because his heart tells him somebody like Griffith can take everything from you. They can put you through the most pain imaginable, but unless they kill you, they cannot stop you. As they go to rescue Casca from the same spirits that attacked Guts, we find out that Skull Knight is a foe to the Inhumans, which makes him a friend of Guts and his cause to eviscerate all of them. But then we find out Casca has a demon baby, and one of the little grossest things I've ever fucking seen. Most babies aren't pretty, but this one was exceptionally disgusting. But Guts is the father. She did not cheat on you. And it's partly also Griffith's, because that shit is full-on demon as it fades into the sunlight. Most definitely going to cause problems later, and Guts is going to have to confront his child, except it's going to be a lot bigger, a lot stronger, and Casca's still not going to want it murdered. I have a feeling about that. Skull Knight delivers some last bits of wisdom that Guts can use the brand to find demons, but also if he is going to confront darkness, then he will also be enveloped by darkness. And that explains where we see Guts in the Black Swordsman arc. He has become very callous, and he's closed off a lot of his emotions with his confrontation of these demons. So that concludes the Golden Age, and I am excited to see where we go from here. I hope that that was the lowest point, but if not, well, fuck. That's my reaction to this, and that's my reaction to if it gets even worse. Well, fuck. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. I'll be back with more Berserk, hopefully more frequently. I'm back at college if you can't tell. Anyways, guys, like and subscribe, and see ya.